Well, hello, juniors. Like Ms. Caprell said, my name is Mr. Jaworowski. I am one of the college and career counselors here at Kirkwood High School. And if your name begins with A through K, you will be working with me as your college counselor. And if your name begins L through Z, you will be working with Miss Peterson as your college counselor. And today what we want to get started with is we want to show you how to use the Naviance program. I realize you have used this as freshmen and sophomores to do some career assessments, but today what we're really going to focus on is how can I use it for my college and career search in terms of different schools or institutions that I might be interested in. So if you have your laptop, if you would open your Gmail account, and then right here is the instructions to log into Naviance. So once you open your Gmail account, if you follow through these steps, it will bring you to your Naviance login. And once you do that, this is the screen that you will land on when you come into Naviance. And so the place that we want to focus on today, if I look in the upper right-hand corner, is the link called Colleges. And when I select Colleges, I'm going to go to Colleges Home. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And what you'll see in the middle of the screen here is we have two different sections. We have something called Find Your Fit, and we have something called Research Colleges. There is a lot of links listed under these two things, and we're going to touch on a few today, a few that I think are used a lot, and there will also be individual separate videos put out for each of these links that you can look at. But the one thing that I want to start with today is the college lookup. And this is what I would say the easiest way, if you have a school in mind, like let's say you know that I want to go to Mizzou, or I want to go to the University of Alabama, or I want to go to Southeast Missouri. College lookup is really the quickest way to see the information that Naviance can give you about that school. And so if I hit college lookup, there's a little drop down here. It says quick list, and I want to change this to keyword. And what I'm going to insert is I want to look up schools in Missouri. I realize many of you are going to want to go out of state. You're going to have a list of schools that aren't all from Missouri, but I want to start here because I think it is a place that is familiar and common to most of us. And so if I go ahead and I click go, and I'm going to scroll down here in Naviance, what I begin to see is this is a list of schools that have the keyword Missouri in them. And I want to start right here. I'm going to go ahead and let's say I'm interested in Missouri State. I want to learn more about Missouri State. All these colleges in the green here, they're links, and they will take you to a page that will give you more information about that school. So once I click on Missouri State, as that loads, what you will see is across the middle here, there's like a little banner that has essentially 4 different things that you can look at. Now I'm going to go ahead and move my screen up here so you can see that. And what we see in the overview is we can see what is the net price, what is the graduation rate, and what is my first deadline. So this is just a general overview of Missouri State and what some of those specific guidelines are if you were to apply there. If I scroll down here in the overview, what you begin to see is some quick facts about Missouri State. I always think that this is really important when you are researching a school because it's going to give you things like the size of the school. If I'm in a class, what is my student to faculty ratio? And you begin to see that. What you'll also begin to see is some of the degrees that they offer there as well. And you can see that on the top there. The next thing that you can go to is you can go to studies. And actually studies is a spot where really you'll see more in terms of the degrees they offer. And so I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and some of you may know some of the things that you're interested in. And when I go ahead and I select a bachelor's degree, what will come up is these are the different areas of study that are available at Missouri State. So as we talk individually with you, we're going to ask you, hey, what are some of the things you're interested in studying, that you're interested in doing? And even if you don't land on one specific thing, maybe you still have a couple things you're interested in doing. Here in this section of a college search, you can begin to see what some of those different majors are. And we'll just kind of keep moving through this banner in the top here. Under student life, Again, I think this is very good information. It tells you the size of the school. Again, you may be interested in a large school, a small school, a mid-sized school. And some of you might say, well, I don't really know what that means, or it really doesn't matter to me. And what I would say is to really think about that statement, because the size of the school can really have some, it can change your experience at that school, is what I would say. If you're at a bigger school, your classes might be bigger, your social interaction might be different. But if you're at a smaller school, you're definitely going to know more people. You might have smaller class sizes. You might have more access to your professors. So you want to really begin to think about that. And that is really something Ms. Peterson and I will talk with you about as we get into our one-on-one meetings. This is also a spot in student life where you can begin to see different things about the student body and the makeup of that student body. And so these are just different graphs that will show you that. And as we continue to move along here, there is a link for admissions. I think this is probably one of the biggest links that we have here. When you look at it, I think this is where you'll spend most of your time in terms of college research. And one thing that it does is it gives you the application fee. And if I scroll down, this is one piece I really like a lot. If I look at this graph here, this tells me, it says your high school's application history. So this tells us about past years in Kirkwood students, how many students applied, how many students were accepted, and how many students enrolled. So if I look at last year, if I look down here, or 2 years ago at 2019, I can see that we had 64 applications from Kirkwood High School to Missouri State. What we can see is that 58 of those students were accepted to Missouri State. And then finally, we can see that 25 students from Kirkwood High School, class of 2019, enrolled at Missouri State. One reason I think this is important data for you is I think that students often think that some of the in-state schools, well, all the kids from Kirkwood go to Mizzou, or all the kids from Kirkwood go to Missouri State or Truman State. And these are big schools, and what I want to just say is don't make a decision based on that, because there is a lot of kids at those schools, and the numbers show you right here that we only send a certain number of students to each of those schools. So that's a great place where you can begin to just see the application history of Kirkwood High School with the schools you're exploring. If I scroll down a little bit, this is one of my favorite things in Naviance. This is called the Scattergram. And I'm going to go ahead and move myself over to the other side of the screen here so you can see that. And what the Scattergram is made up of is it has basically a GPA and an ACT score. And it says if these are past students that applied to Missouri State. And it takes their GPA and it takes their ACT and it plots it on this graph. And if you see the little green check marks, what you see is those are students that were accepted to Missouri State. So if I look here and I say, well, I had an ACT score of a 24 and I had a GPA of a 3.4, I had a really good chance of being admitted to Missouri State. I think a real thing when you're reading this graph, a real good way to interpret these, I realize this is an example of Missouri State, and some of you are going to want to use this for other schools, but when you begin to see the red X's, what is the trend that you see here? And if I look at Missouri State, what I begin to see is that once the ACT score was around a 20 and my GPA came closer to a 3.0, that's where more students were denied to Missouri State. So this will certainly give you a really good look at admissions, I guess, trends from Kirkwood High School students at Missouri State. So I'm just going to scroll back up here. And I want us to remember kind of where we were in this presentation. We simply selected Missouri State in a college lookup, and then we were able to see all that information about Missouri State.